Welcome to the Rock Solid Families podcast. I am Linda Hutchinson here with my husband as we begin a whole new month and a whole new series. Welcome to July.
Ask me anything. This is July Ask Me Anything month.
Yes, which it was very cool to kind of see the questions that came in and the people that are really, these things are on their minds and hearts. And if this kind of hit you and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. If you have a question and you want us to answer, you know, the month of July has several Mondays to it, so we would love to take your questions. So feel free to, reach out to us. You can get us on the Facebook page. There's a kind of an anonymous way to post that question, or you can just reach out to us at rocksolidfamilies.org and throw it in the Contact Us page and let us know your question.
Should we do a disclaimer?
What's that?
We don't know if we're going to get any of these questions right, guys. Right?
It's kind of like Dear Abby.
Yeah. So from our perspective, we are obviously speaking from our experience, from our training, from just a lot of that background. But these are questions that we don't actually know the person, maybe, very possibly. They just emailed it in or wrote it in or something. And so we can't write guarantees to, if you just do this, it'll work out perfectly. So, but the reason why these are important, hon, is because you know how your teacher in class always said, if you have a question, ask it, because probably somebody else in the class has a very similar question that they're afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why we're doing this, because maybe this is not the exact scenario that you are playing out in your life, but there are going to be enough nuggets to it that you can go, maybe that's a good point that I could implement into my life or marriage or whatever the situation is. And maybe it's a benefit.
Yeah. So our first question really has come from an adult daughter who really is asking us our professional opinion on what should I do with the situation with my mom and my parents. And so we're going to get to that in a little bit. But before we do, we want to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, let's thank Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hoosier Ice House. So thanks to those three sponsors for coming alongside of the work that we're doing here at Rock Solid Families in the Rock Solid Families podcast. Had a big celebration not too long ago with the Casey's family, right? So Casey got married.
Congratulations, Casey and Tony.
Casey, you don't have to thank us for giving you a little extra airtime here, but no, that was fun.
Yeah, it was, but it was a hot one, right?
Casey decided to choose the hottest day of the summer. Thank you, Casey.
Yeah, no,
that was
awesome.
But man, it was just really spectacular. Casey and Tony do everything big, and that was big, and we got to be part of it, so that was fun.
Yeah, and so we celebrate you guys, and we're thankful for your support of Rock Solid Families. But we also want to thank those who have been attending our Families Rock class, and I know that some of you are listening because you kind of have said, like, I need to get connected to this podcast. I need to learn because I didn't see healthy growing up. I don't know what a good parent looks like or what a healthy marriage looks like. And so I really need some help. And so we just welcome you. If this is something that's new to you, if you've not tuned in to the Rock Solid Families podcast before, we have over, I don't even know how many shows.
We're knocking on 300.
300 shows that we've done over a span of 6 years. And so we would love for you to just go back. You can just Google
and listen to every single one of them twice.
But, hopefully there's some wisdom there that you can take away. But, this question, hon.
Wait, I got to interject something.
What?
Coming up on Strong Dads.
Oh.
Okay, so our other show, I am introducing a new guest/host.
I'm excited about
who's
that.
coming to join us. And so I'm not going to say his name because I'm going to save that for the great reveal on Strong Dads. But I'm really looking forward to this because this person's going to bring something that I don't bring to the table.
Wisdom?
Brains. Somebody, a very deep thinking individual, and he'll tell you that's his blessing and that's his curse. But he thinks deep, and we're going to have some fun with the conversations of men and of dads. And so looking forward to delving into that.
It's so funny because we have this series called Ask Us Anything, right? And what's amazing is that there's not many people in my life that will ask those hard questions to me. Not like asking my opinion, but really making me think. And he is one of them. And so I value his opinion and I appreciate his depth of what he's asking and really making me think about why do I do what I do? Why do I think that way? Where's that coming from? And so I appreciate that. And we all need those people in our life. We need people who are going to challenge us and make us think and ask us those hard questions.
Yeah,
right?
when he asks questions, they're you can count on them being well thought out. I will flippantly say things and go, oh, I probably should have not said it like that. But he tends to think things out, and still is a lot of fun in the conversation and everything. So anyway, that'll be on Strong Dads, and I'll preview that here later as we get that out.
So getting back to our question, this week's question is about an adult daughter whose mom and dad have been married for 50 years. And mom recently confided in her that she feels like the marriage is dead and that there's no sexual intimacy, and that, while she does love her husband, that they're basically just roommates. And this was really hard for the daughter to hear. And so really she's asking us, like, what do I do with that? Because she challenged her mom to get some counseling, but the mom just shrugged it off. And she said, honestly, that's a generation that really didn't see counseling as important or valuable. And so her question really is, how do I process this when my mom shares this really deep struggle? Because that's a lot to hear with a parents that have been married for 50 years and they're just really existing and not happy.
Well, I guess, to just start with that is, you hate to hear that, right?
Yeah,
50
sad.
years of investing in a relationship and a family being developed from that. And you go, wow, this is where those things like, is this all there is?
Yeah.
Is this what we've got after all these years? And, but, the honest truth, hon, is we hear that quite a bit.
Yeah, we have a lot of couples that have come in, been married 40, 45, 50 years.
Yeah, and we say this all the time. In our line of work, you do see marriages blow up. You see an affair, you see alcohol or some addiction, and you see them blow up. And that means in a very short time things get really bad.
Yeah.
But most of them kind of don't blow up. They kind of fall apart. They kind of rot.
They fade.
Yeah, they fade, and that's just because of lifestyle habits that were not put in place. And I'll be silly about this, but not. They don't brush the teeth, right? They don't do the daily hygiene that it takes. And so brushing your teeth, your kids will fight you all the time. Why do I have to do this? And you as a parent, you always say, because your teeth will fall out of your head. And we know the truth is that if they skip brushing their teeth one time, their teeth aren't going to fall out of their head.
Yeah.
But if they continue to skip brushing the teeth, there's a good chance the teeth are going to fall out of their head through rot. And that's really what you see. And it speaks to the idea that you have to have some daily maintenance kind of stuff. So first and foremost, like we want to say that this is not just this lady's problem that she brought to us. We see this all the time.
Yep. And as the daughter's probably realizing, the mother has shame and she doesn't want to go out with it. She doesn't want to talk about it. And that's what happens a lot of times. I've had a couple in my office who are going to be ready to celebrate their 50th anniversary. And they would say that it hasn't been good for 25 years.
Yeah.
And there's been no sexual intimacy and no real connection. And they really have been roommates for 25 years. And I'm so saddened by that. Like, there was hope and help 25 years ago, but they got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And one of them said, we need help. And the other one said, I don't think so. And she went and started it by herself. She came without him and said, okay, he won't come, but I need to do something. And we just changed and tweaked a little bit how she asked. And they came in, both of them. And it became very different. We just had a couple recently, and they openly shared a review basically saying they've been married for over 40 years. And they're rediscovering the relationship all over again. And they're so thankful for Rock Solid and just really revitalizing. It was almost like they put another log on the fire.
Oh,
right?
That's a good song.
And rekindled that relationship.
While I'm thinking about it, hon, so some of you might be saying, well, the daily maintenance, I get it. Guys, here, I just can't help but to not add some of these quick hitters that are they're not a big deal, but they tend to fall off the calendars. Like the daily check-ins. We talk about the daily check-in. Are you checking in every day on how your partner's doing? Are you having some of that conversation and saying, hey, man, it seems like you had a pretty rough day, or, that kind of thing. So are you doing the check-ins? Are you having some date nights, right? Do you pray together? We've talked many times the power of prayer in the marriage that brings down or it fireproofs the marriage down to about a 1% or less divorce rate on those who pray together. That's like Hey, that's pretty helpful. Uniting in the parenting, we see so many. You know, the family seems to be great on the outside, but then you see the turmoil because the parents can't unite and come together, and so every time something related to the kids, it's just like another salt in the wound.
And it doesn't even have to be children, like adult parents or parents of adult children. You know, where you're literally coming like this adult child who wants you to pay for their mortgage or wants to live in your house, and you're divided on that.
Yeah.
Like, so it doesn't even have to be a child. It could be an adult child that has kind of become the priority of your relationship. And you got to get you back above that, because again, we say this all the time. God should be your first priority. Your eyes should be fixed on him. Then it's each other, and then it's your children. And so when children start to trump your marriage, that's going to be a slow erosion.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just important to have that unity. And then how about unity and doing just some common interests, you know, sharing some common time together. And that can be across the board, right? You see couples that go hiking together. You see they play sports together. Maybe they play cards together. Maybe they do movies together. But you have to find some different things that you say, I just like spending some time with you on this. And, you know, if you're never in a position where you like spending time with your spouse, then there's something going awry there. And so it's worth saying, how do we do this? How do we get this right?
But again, we want you to have your own interests too. It doesn't mean you have to spend every waking hour together. You and I have tried things that just haven't gone well.
Don't work.
Like you bought me a bike, and
three of them.
My idea of a bike is this really big seat with a basket on it and like coaster brakes. And your idea of a bike,
and a motor.
Yeah, that would be good. But you know, your idea of a bike is like this really teeny skinny seat with these clip pedals. That freaks me out. Like mine is like an 8-mile bike trail. Yours is like 28 miles. So again, there wasn't a common interest there, but we do like to walk together. Right now that you can't run as much on your knee, you know, we do love to play cards together and watch movies and go out to dinner, and you know, so there's things that we have found. But even though I'm not your running partner and I'm not your biking partner,
no, but we are definitely go out to eat partner.
Yeah, we love date nights.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's circle back around to the question.
Okay.
I would like to say one thing to that. It's really pretty cool that you're in this question and pertaining specifically to this, that your mom was willing to confide in you. You know, that speaks highly of the trust that she has in you.
Yeah.
And so that's good. That speaks well of the relationship that you have. So that's the good side of that. The negative side of that is you're not the right person that she should be confiding in.
Yeah.
And again, like that doesn't chastise you in any way, but this should be directed towards the ability to confide in your spouse.
Yeah.
And so this is part of why things have gone off the rails in this marriage over these years. And so it's great that you're there, and you should continue to be there, all right? But we want this confiding and this heavier talk to be able to be back between the spouses, because at the end of the day, you're not the one that's going to be fixing them.
Yeah. And so we kind of look at that as enabling. For instance, kind of exchange the scenario to a child who is upset with their coach, okay? And they come to you and complain. You as a parent need to say, have you talked to the coach?
Right.
Have you gone back to the coach? You can't just keep dumping your complaints on me, okay? Or a spouse who's unhappy with their boss, right? And they come home and they complain every day. But if you just keep enabling that complaining without challenging them to take care of it and do something about it, then you're just enabling the bad behavior. And so as the adult, as the adult child, you need to say, hey, Mom, I hear you, but have you talked to Dad about this? This isn't fair to Dad. Dad has maybe no idea that you're unhappy, and maybe he does. And then if Dad's still not willing to do something, then Mom gets help. Mom takes care of it for herself and gets those tools for herself. You can't do it for her, just like you couldn't do it for your child or your spouse. You can't do it for your mom. And you can't own that.
Yeah, and she did the right thing in this question. The daughter does the right thing by saying, Mom, I'm going to recommend that you get help, that you get some counseling. That is the right thing. And the reason why that is the right thing is because when you bring a family member in to try to get into the business of helping other family members, you really get emotional muddy water. And so bringing in a neutral party, so recommending, hey, Mom, you know, this seems like something you and Dad could use some help for. Why don't you get some coaching or counseling? That is an excellent thing to to recommend, and you as the daughter not owning any of that, because you will really make things worse. Chances are, I mean, there's a rare event that it might work, but you're probably going to make things worse, because if things aren't healthy and you start getting involved, and it'll come across as you potentially taking sides and all that. And now not only do I have mom and dad not doing well, but now I start to fracture relationships down throughout other members of the family.
Yeah, and it kind of look at it as like an addiction issue. You know, if you have an adult child or a family member with addiction, like, you can encourage them to get help. You can challenge them to not sit there in their, victimhood, or you can pick it up and own it and enable it and be codependent with it. And so that's what we're saying. If you're exhausted and you're doing more work than they are, then you need to take a step back and put boundaries up for you. I highly recommend the book Boundaries, because it really kind of explains, like, where is it come to the end of you and your responsibility, whether that be with your mom or your dad or anybody else. Because I have a feeling this might not be the only relationship where you want to own and rescue. And that's the work we got to do. That was me. I was the people pleaser. I was the rescuer. And that was exhausting. And that's not what God wants for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's what directs people into the counseling field. But people in the counseling field for any length of time realize that they have to put boundaries on, I am not here. I'm not the savior of these situations. Otherwise, they'll quickly burn out and destroy what their passion was.
Yeah.
Hun, something that's interesting here, you kind of alluded to it, is that, the grandma here, or the mom in this case, has recognized that she is in a very uncomfortable, unpleasant marriage situation, okay? And that's good that she recognizes that. But you, as you talked about before, there's a good chance he doesn't even know. At the level. I mean, he might know that things are not like great and warm and all that, but he may not know the level that she's seeing this. Because, like, when somebody feels pain, I don't know what your pain feels like. I can try to estimate it, like, well, is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Is it an 8? What is it, So we really don't know what people's pain are. And so there's a good case here that the dad in this case, if we said, well, put a number on it, mom might say 8 or 9 or 10, and he might say 2?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly.
Right? And so for that reason, there's no sense of urgency out of him.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't know it was that big of a deal, honey.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
First and foremost, the mom here has to get a better read on how much, I'll use the word pain, the marriage and she and he are in.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would encourage the mom to do right off the bat. Like, honey, are we seeing the same thing here or not? Because if not, then I need to approach things differently.
Yeah, and so I'm using my cup today. It says, don't give up the ship. We're not saying to throw in the towel. We're not saying that 50 years has been a waste or that it's time to give up the ship. We're saying that make a step toward healing, make a step toward help. And if he's not willing, if you ask, like, this is really important to me, we get calls all the time from one spouse or the other where literally they've challenged or even threatened to leave or to give up. And that other person's like, whoa, 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 like, where is that coming from? And so they'll start sometimes without them, they'll start with them, but you got to explain to them how much you're hurting and how much you want more for the relationship. And there is great, great hope. There really is. We have just had so many couples that really, it was been revitalized because they really just found a way to connect with one another. They just kind of got lazy.
Yeah.
They kind of got complacent. Like, 50 years, you're not going anywhere. We're good. And it is. It's hard not to get lazy when it's been so long, but there is hope.
Yeah. So let's go back to the mom here in this situation. So there's a good chance mom's been avoiding the hard conversations. Maybe she herself is a bit passive or a little shy or introverted and afraid, okay? And so there's some questions that she could maybe get some help with, maybe a coach or something like that, and she could start to think about these things of how to present. But there are some things she needs to think about.
Yeah.
If she's going to be willing to bring this up, and so in other words, okay, we're going to throw it out on the table. We're going to blow it up here. It's no longer going to be a secret, the elephant in the room. So we're going to go ahead and bring this out. You got it. She needs to ask herself the questions. Okay, if I bring this up, what am I willing to live with?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what might it look like on the other side? And we don't know exactly, but the mental preparation allows you to say, okay, well, what would happen if it completely did blow up and we split, right? Like how would I cover finances? How would we cover relationships with our kids? Like these are things that help you prepare versus running into a storm and not having any way to secure it in the middle of the storm. Okay.
Yeah. And I've had women who have challenged their husband, and then she didn't want to hear the fact that he hasn't been happy for years too.
Right.
And he's done. And that was a scary, scary reality and really chance that she was taken. But what are you willing to live with? Do you want to just live status quo, or do you want something more? And again, we're not saying leave. We're saying that you challenge the old way of doing and thinking and ask for help and getting something better. And if he's not willing, then you go. Because sometimes, and we've seen this, sometimes the man or the woman can sink into a depression.
Right.
And so they're looking through everything with a negative lens. And so their husband can't do anything right, or their wife can't do anything right. And it really has more to do with what they're going through than just the relationship.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the longer somebody's in pain, the more they have to focus on their own.
Yeah.
And so they lose the sense of what other people are experiencing. And so, it's really important that she realizes, well, am I just focusing on the negative and everything? Does this guy ever do anything right?
Yeah.
And so it's important that she starts investing in the positive, right? I think that's something that's worth mentioning here too is how much work are you willing to put in? This is one reason why you'll see marriages get this deep and kind of the muck. They kind of know, like those daily maintenance things that we're talking about, they kind of know, like if you didn't do that daily maintenance on your teeth for a long time, you're afraid to go to the dentist for the first time because this is going to cost so much money. I'm going to have to go through so much pain to get my teeth back to right. And so people will say, I don't know if I'm willing to invest the work or, the money, so to speak, in this. And so you got to wrap yourself around the question. You're getting ready to ask your husband to do some work. Are you ready to do the work yourself, right? And then when you do, and hopefully you do get to the point where you land it well, you've got to show your husband in this case that, hey, I'm not asking you to do all the work. Right. I'm ready to carry my load. I'm ready to carry it. I would like for you to come alongside and carry your part of the load. And, we keep the blaming out of it. The reason why this relationship is the way it is because you never did this.
Yeah.
That is not going to get you anywhere.
Nope.
And so you got to be able to say, how much load can I carry, and am I willing to carry it?
Yeah, so that's a great point, Hun. So really this show today is really twofold. We're talking to those where you see that the fire is going out in your marriage and what should I do, right? And then the other part is someone you love or care about, you see kind of the train wreck ahead or you see them miserable. And so you're like, what should I do? Like, what's my responsibility? And so there's really two parts of this question. And so hopefully we've been able to address some of that, but we just know there are a lot of hurting people out there who, like you said, the pain of change hasn't become greater than the pain of staying the same. And so what we want to do is we want to just challenge you. Like there is something better out there, but it does take work. And it does take having some of those hard conversations and asking some hard questions. Maybe you're afraid to ask, like, are you happy?
Right.
Are you content with where we're at? Because I'm not. And so I feel like there is work to do. And so there is hope out there, and we hope that you'll reach out. So if we can be of any help, please reach out to us at rocksolidfamilies.org. This isn't just about a 50-year marriage. This could be you in the workplace. It could be you with your parents or you with your siblings or you with your friends or spouse. Like, don't just sit in mediocrity and think this is as good as it gets.
Yeah. I want to quickly, something just came to my mind about, let's go back to the daughter's perspective, okay? And from the daughter's perspective, we kind of gave this information, and most of our information today led to, okay, well, mom has to do the work. But let's just say that none of that seems to be working well. Then what does that put the daughter position into being, right? And so moving forward, I would encourage you to keep the relationship with your mother and let her confide, but put a boundary on that, and simply by saying, well, Mom, I'm willing to listen, but you know what I can do and what I can't do. And so please tell me, what are you asking out of me as you confide in me?
All right. What are you willing to do?
Right. And so her confiding in you is now under the idea that, okay, I appreciate that you just need a place to vent or whatever, but I'm not really asking you to do anything. I know that I have to do the work. And so if you as a daughter are going to want to keep that door open, state your boundary. Hey, I'm willing to listen, Mom, but you know where I am on this. So you know what I can and I can't do. And so if you still just need an ear, I'm here for you. Just don't expect something of me. In other words, don't expect me to carry the load that I'm not there to carry.
By the way, one of the other parts of this question was like, how do I deal with this reality and this truth that my parents are roommates? And there is some grieving that happens when you had this expectation of your mom and dad, and maybe they were your role models or somebody you looked up to. And then you find out that the emperor has no clothes, or, the wizard behind this, behind the curtain, that isn't the reality. And it takes some grieving and some reality that it's not all that you thought it was. And so there is some grief there. So get your own help to make sure that you don't own that. But that it doesn't overwhelm you. You can still set a boundary so you can have healthy, so you can choose differently. Maybe you learn from mom and dad that we're not going to let the fire go out. We're going to keep putting the logs on the fire so it doesn't look like that in 50 years. And it really is kind of motivation to do the work.
I would say that's probably one of the biggest takeaways here, because we tend to fall into similar traps that we grew up with. And so if one big takeaway is, well, how can you not let this become a generational thing? What can you do? And these are, again, goes back to those daily hygiene kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully that helps. Again, this is just the first question in our series of Ask Us Anything. And so if we can take on one of your questions, maybe we'll do a couple at a time. I don't know, but get them in there. You can reach out to us at rocksolidfamilies.org or check us out on our Facebook page. We'll make sure we keep posting that anonymous Google form that you can post your question anonymously if you'd rather do it that way.
All right. Thanks to Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hoosier Ice House again for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. Also, thanks to all of you out there. Please do us a favor. Share our show. Please subscribe to our show right now. Do that right now. Subscribe to our show.
It really does help.
Yeah, it does help. Helps those search engines. Yeah. And as Linda said just a bit ago, if we can help you, go out, reach out to us. That's part of what we're doing here in our life's work. So go ahead and reach out to us. I think that's all of our question for today. You want to sign us off?
For sure. So thank you so much for listening to the Rock Solid Families podcast, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Families wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. Casey's has grown to be one of the largest and most unique garden centers and gift shops in the Cincinnati tri-state area. Whether you are looking to take on that next landscape project or simply add a little home decor to your house, Casey's has you covered. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Call them today at 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Rock Solid Families wants to thank Maxwell Construction for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. For over 30 years, Maxwell Construction has been a leader in turning dreams into realities, building schools, banks, restaurants, and many other commercial and public facilities. Maxwell Construction has made it their priority to not just build buildings, but to build into their community. So if you have any construction needs, call them at 812-537-2200.
Rock Solid Families would like to thank Hoosier Ice House for being a proud sponsor of the Rock Solid Families podcast. In the heart of historic Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the Ice House is at the corner of Vine and High Streets. The historic building evokes a feeling of comfort with spacious indoor and outdoor dining, a large bar, and comfortable dining areas. Large enough to host parties, yet intimate enough to feel like your favorite neighborhood restaurant. So thank you again for the Hoosier Ice House for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast.